So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about the kit attributes screen, and I'm assuming that a lot of people who are watching this video are doing so from the kit attributes screen where I have embedded this video. Others may have stumbled across it on YouTube, perhaps watching other tutorials, and if so, you can get to the kit attributes screen by going to your resource manager widget and then just clicking on any of the kits in your DNA inventory. You click on the view, edit, delete kit button. It's a green button that is on each kit. Okay, so starting out on the top left here, we have kit attributes. Kit attributes is the title of the whole screen. We have the fundamental attributes, and attributes, I just mean settings and properties, basically. So the fundamental ones are ones that you can't change. They're just properties of the kit. For example, Borland Genetics doesn't allow you to switch kits from donor to donor. It considers the donor to be a fundamental attribute, and the donor in this case is my great-great-grandfather, Joseph Srachis, who was born 1854. Now, if you did want to change something about the donor, you can go to the donor settings page, and then you can, change his death date or birth date or something if you made a mistake or a spelling. But you can't switch to which donor profile a kit is attached. Okay, so that's why it's fundamental. Next, we go on to date time uploaded, simply a timestamp. It's useful for me so I could track, the changes in the size of the database over time, and it's useful to you because let's say you have some more data and you want to, account for that data in a more detailed or a future reconstruction of Joseph Srachis, then you can do so, and then you'll know which one you created first and which one you created later, and maybe you want to erase the old one because the new one is just so much better. Or if not, you just know which one is which. Next is the source. This is Borland Genetics sourced. That means this is not an ancestry kit or a family tree DNA kit or a MyHeritage kit. This was actually created using the tools on the site. Kits that are created using the old desktop Borland Genetics tools will also get this designation. Next, the type is mono. You got two choices here. Well, the computer will either determine that it's a mono or a stereo kit. The difference being whether along any place along the chromosomes there is data regarding both copies of the chromosome. So, for example, a factory kit is always stereo because it's got, it covers the complete genome of both, including both copies of each of your chromosomes. It has information about your father and your mother everywhere. This kit, however, is mono, and that is it only has 5 segments, as we can see from the reconstructed segments section here in yellow. Although some of these segments may be, attributable to Joseph's father and some may be from his mother, there's never more than one in the same spot at the same time. So there's only one segment on chromosome 2 from 152 to 207, and there's not some maternal data and some paternal data there. I mean, unless maybe half of the segment is paternal and half is maternal, but they're never overlaying. It's never stereo. It's like the sound never comes out of both sides of the headphone. It's either in one or the other at all times. It's never in stereo, and that's what I mean by a mono kit. So a phased kit would be an example of a mono kit, like if you phased the kit on GEDmatch and just got your maternal side. But there are other types of mono kits that can be a combination of paternal and maternal data just in different places on the chromosome. That's what makes it mono. Okay, coverage 1%. There are 2 metrics for determining, I guess, the one for the scope and one for the scale and one for the quality of your reconstructed kit, and the coverage determines, I guess, the range or the scope of exactly what percentage of the genome was actually reconstructed. 1% is kind of low if you consider that the total real estate on both copies of all your chromosomes is about 7,200 centimorgans, a little more if you're including the X. Then we're talking, maybe 75 centimorgans has been reconstructed, which is not a heck of a lot here, but it's 5 segments, and this guy's back from 1854 in rural Lithuania, so still kind of cool and useful because it does generate matches. Whereas the resolution is not shown here because typically resolution, you could talk about it as a property of the entire kit, but generally it's going to have, depending on how it was created, it's going to have certain parts are going to be higher resolution than others, and it's more of like you'd want to make a chart of the entire chromosomes, and you can show resolution as sort of like a density type of diagram. But I don't have that tool currently on this site. I may add it in the future. So the next item we have here is status, and here it's results ready, and that's good because it just indicates that this kit is ready. You can do anything you want with it on the site. You could generate matches, you could use it in all of the tools. Stages that you get to before results ready include things like queued for processing. When you first upload it and you're waiting for the website to process it, you can get processing. And you can get a series of errors, but I tend to go through with a QC tool that I have every once in a while and look for those errant kits and either remove them if they can't be saved, and oftentimes the person will have an error during upload and they'll know it and they'll just upload it again, so it's no big deal. Or sometimes a file can get corrupted or something, and I may pull a previous version from the server or something like that if I see it got corrupted. Okay, and sometimes the kit just needs to be reprocessed. It's not that the kit has any corruption, but maybe its match list got corrupted, in which case I just run it through processing again. But anyway, status here is good. All systems go. It is results ready. We can do anything we want with this kit on the site. Reconstructed segments. This yellow box here just shows you exactly what segments have been reconstructed, what data is there, what that 1% coverage is. This tells you where on the genome that 1% is, and here it's 5 segments: one on chromosome 2, one on 11, one on 14, 15, and 19. And there's a tip here. It says that you can import these. You can cut and paste this, and you can import it into DNA Painter as a match if you want to see them visually, if you want to see what it looks like on the chromosomes. And sometimes that's useful. You may want to use that for a template, for example, for like drilling this further back and like mapping out matches, so you can tell what parts of each of these segments or whole segments may be for Yosis's father or Yosis's mother. So bookkeeping attributes is next. And this is really just that. It's information for you and for you alone. GEDmatch and FTDNA kit numbers are purely for your own bookkeeping purposes. If you want to fill those information, it's just to keep track of which kits you've uploaded where. And for a kit like this, it's reconstructed kit. You're not really going to be uploading it to other places right now, although, I mean, there may be places to upload it in the future. Right now, the Borland Genetics database is the home for synthetic and reconstructed kits, and it's designed to handle them. But you could put, let's say you don't have, for your ancestry kit, for example, though, and you're going to upload your factory kits to Borland Genetics too, otherwise you're not going to be able to do any of the reconstructions. Then you might want to put, if you uploaded your ancestry kit to GEDmatch, put your GEDmatch number there, and then you'll never forget, if you have to look it up, you can just go onto the site, they're all in one place. Again, I do nothing whatsoever with that data. It is purely for you. And you can keep track of anything you want in there, actually. Okay. So notes visible to all users. You can put anything you want in this box. However, the tools and also the creeper generate notes when you create kits on the site. When Borland Genetics generates auto notes, it's best if you do not change them. Rather, do not change that part in the notes. If you would like to add some additional information, just do it at the end. After the period here, you could type in a second sentence, for example, after Peter. If you wanted to add more information. But if you change what was automatically populated, and this is a bad example because that's information that I wrote myself in here, if you do change that information, perhaps the creeper won't be able to properly identify what type of kit it is for a future workflow or something. So you don't want to do that. One other thing I should mention too, though, with the automated notes, I say don't delete or change the automated notes, but since they are visible to the public, if it's information about like a child or something like that, obviously you want to maybe change the child to the child's initials or something. If here Elzbieta and Francisca are people that lived and died long ago, but if they were my daughters, for example, I might want to just make it E and P or something like that, so that I'm not giving private information about children to the other users. Okay, so if I wanted to make a change, I would click Process Changes. Next, the Extract Segments utility, and this is a free tool. And a lot of times I talk about the Borland Genetics method of DNA reconstruction, where you start with phasing, and then you map, and then you extract, and then you merge. This is step 3. And since it's always done at the kit level, I put it on the kit attributes screen. And this is a free tool, and what you would do is, if, like in the example I said above, if you had determined that some of these segments are from from Joseph's father and someone from his mother, and you had mapped that out in a DNA painter, for example, you can export the data from DNA painter and then import it into Borland Genetics as a phase map. You choose the file and then select your build coordinates. Anything, if you relied on these, this is build 37, so it would be build 37 coordinates most of the time. And then when you click the extract selected segments, it'll take you to another screen where you can create a new DNA kit with using only those subset of segments. And it'll ask you some information about the donor, either to pick it from your list of existing donors or create a new donor, etc. But anyway, that's the extract segment tool. Now, on next one we have here, our next two are related to projects, the regional and family projects. Pilot projects. These are the ones that you see on the website when you first go into the website. Some of the widgets, in addition to your own resource manager, are showcases of different pilot projects, and they're not very far along as of June 2020 because I'm really just getting started with that. And I was hoping to get that out to a wider subset of the population, especially in Ohio, but the Ohio conference was canceled this year due to COVID-19, so I didn't really get to promote that. But in the future, I do plan on really recruiting for some of the pilot projects to show what can actually be done with this site. And also, it's something that people could do on the site even if they haven't tested their DNA. For example, if they're from Harrison County, Ohio, where one of the projects is, they could just go on the site and look at matches to people that lived in Harrison County, Ohio hundreds of years ago, and see who their matches were and try to determine from that, whether they may be related to those people. So from here, there's only 3 current pilot projects there. One, as I mentioned, is Harrison County, Ohio. One is the Capper project. One is the Log Vetland Family project that has to do with Norway. And Joseph is neither of those things. None of these apply to him. He was from Lithuania, and he came to the United States, lived out in Pennsylvania, and then in Jersey City later in his life. So none of this is going to apply to him. If it was, or if I thought it was, let's say I tried to submit him to the Harrison County, Ohio Regional Project, I would click this button after I pick the project, and it would navigate to a submission form, in which case the admins of that group would review my submission and see this guy from Lithuania who's never set foot in Harrison County, Ohio, and they would give him a big no. However, if it was someone that looked like he was from Harrison County, Ohio, and you wrote your little submission message that says, "Hi, this is my great-grandfather. He was from, Deersville or Bowerston or something, and I want to submit him to the project. Here's my relation to him, blah," then they would, the administrators would say, "Great," and they would add them to the showcase project. Okay, so next is for subscribers only, and there are a couple tools here, a few tools. One is to submit the kit to a private project, in which case, you don't need approval. It's your own project, and I can create all kinds of projects, not just showcase or organizational projects, where I'm taking a segment of my kits and just, organizing them, but also there are smart projects that correspond to advanced reconstruction workflows like reverse phasing or visual phasing. But for now, let's see if I added him to, he's Margaret Rice, which was my grandmother. It's her paternal grandfather. Rochus changed to Rice in America, although a couple lines of the family, I believe, decided to go with Rogers. So my Rochus family is a combination of Rochus, Rogers, and Rice in the United States. Okay, so if I want to add that kit to a private project, I would just click the button, and I probably already did because I think, yep. So it's going to tell me access denied, data integrity failure. Don't get afraid by that. That just means that the kit you have selected for Joseph Rochus is already a member of the Margaret Rice and beyond. So it's not going to let me add it twice. But anyway, go back. And whenever you go back on the site, you have to reload the page, confirm form resubmission. It may look a little different in different browsers, but I'll probably change that in the future and have my own back arrow as opposed to relying on the browsers. But for now, that's okay. Okay, so where were we? We did subscriber only. Private projects, so you know what those are. There'll be more videos on specific types of private projects later because that is a subject for 10 to 20 tutorials, definitely. Okay, so next is the HIR Mapper version 2. And again, when I talk about the 4 steps of DNA reconstruction, the Borland Genetics, routine or method, if you want to call it that. Number 1 is to phase, number 2 is to map, 3 extract, 4 is to merge. So this is about number 2, to map. So this is a tool that helps you map the DNA matches on to a mono kit, to a reconstructed kit. It applies only to mono kits. You will not see this section if you are not if this kit is not mono. Okay, so then if you clicked on it, it would take you to a tool that would assist you in generating matches for the kit, organizing them in a certain order, classifying them between paternal and maternal in reference to, in relation to Yosys, and then it would create a nice CSV file for you. It stores on the site, and you could view it here, or you could upload it to the DNA Painter, where you could edit it. If you wanted to change a segment and flip it from paternal to maternal because you think it made a mistake or something, or if you have more information about some of the segments that weren't painted, where the computer couldn't tell which were paternal and maternal. You could make those determinations yourself in DNA Painter and then upload it again. And you would upload that to, moving on, the phase map locker. And this is where you can upload a new phase map, one that was either, well, typically wouldn't have been, because if it was generated on the site, you always have the option to save it on the site. But if it was generated, say, with DNA Painter, or if you did it yourself in Excel, I mean, a lot of people do that, although it's a little bit tedious. You could choose a CSV file from your computer and upload it here, give it a title, give it a description, tell it which build coordinates you use for the coordinates for your map, and upload it. And you could use it just like you would use a DNA Painter map or a native Borland Genetics map. They're all interchangeable here as long as they've got the same type of information. And there's some information here about whether to choose build 36 or build 37 because it depends how you created that map. For example, if you created the map using ftDNA segment data, your match data, that's going to be in build 36, at least as of the date of recording of this video. They're still using build 36 for showing match data. And now at the bottom we have some navigational buttons. I mean, if you were to do an import, you'd press this and you'd get to a separate workflow. A lot of these buttons so far lead to further workflows. Download kit is one option. So when I do so, I click it. I'll show you what it will do. Take me to another screen. Read me my rights here as far as and responsibilities as far as downloading a kit off of the system. And you have some options. There's some free options, which is basically download the kit, and then subscribers have some other advanced options they can have. And when they do, you'll get just a... It's a little slow because of where I'm located here. Download successful, and if you were to open the file, it would be, it would look just like a raw DNA file that you would get from, say, Ancestry or something. Okay, back to the resource manager. And where we were looking at Yosys Rachis. We were looking at his kit, though, not his profile. That's a different thing. Okay, so other navigational buttons. Transfer the kit to another user. I don't recommend doing this. I mean, if you are, one thing I could think of where you might be doing this, if you're, getting older and maybe you're done with your research and you want to pass it along to the next generation, you could transfer all of your kits to another person. But for sharing, that's really why I created projects, because the private projects, you can invite other members. So you can work together without having to transfer a kit. Same thing with transferring donor profiles. Not terribly useful. Unless you are, done with your work and you want to transfer it to someone else from now on. But that option is there. Delete kit, that's pretty obvious. It does give you an "Are you sure?" kind of message when you click on it. Warning: this action cannot be undone. Are you sure you want to delete this kit from the Borland Genetics server? Please note that this action will also permanently delete from the Borland Genetics database all phase maps attached to this kit. And that's important because if you uploaded a bunch of phase maps to it and then you delete the whole kit, and everything that was attached to it is also deleted. I'm going to cancel. I do not want to delete this kit. Okay, and then finally, back to the resource manager widget is your last possible navigation choice, and that'll take you back to your DNA inventory. Well, I hope I've explained all the things that you could do from this screen. It's actually quite a bit, even though it has a very unassuming name like Kit Attributes. There are actually quite a few tools here, and more so for subscribers. But anyway, until next time, and I hope to embed more videos like this throughout the site on some of the tools and some of the other features. See you soon.